island hopping
Oh, fun.
through Palawan.
Okay.
And it is so much more than just pretty beaches.
I can imagine.
We're using this awesome article as our kind of guide today, Palawan Islands, Palawan, Philippines,
Okay.
to uncover those like hidden gems and stories you won't find in a typical travel guide.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
So to kick things off, get ready for a number that's going to make you do a double take.
Okay.
Palawan is an archipelago
Hmm.
of, wait for it,
Okay.
1,780 islands.
Wow.
Not a typo.
That's a lot of islands.
Right. It's like someone just sprinkled islands across the sea.
Yeah, like confetti.
Like confetti.
Wow.
And get this,
Yeah.
that number includes the Spratly Islands,
Okay.
or the Kalayaan Islands, as they're known in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where things get kind of tricky.
Okay.
It's a very politically complex area
I see.
with multiple countries
Yeah.
vying for control.
Wow.
So we've got the Philippines, China, Taiwan, Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, and Indonesia.
Okay, so a lot of different countries.
Yeah, all with claims to these islands.
Okay.
And then on top of that, within the Spratlys themselves, there are over 750 reefs, islets, atolls, you name it.
Oh, wow.
It's a geopolitical hotspot.
Wow. Yeah, just getting your head around how many places are involved is
Right.
pretty amazing.
So we could honestly do a whole deep dive on just the Spratly Island situation.
Yeah, definitely.
But for today,
Okay.
we're going to kind of keep our focus on exploring the wonder of all of Palawan's island landscape.
Okay.
Thank goodness our article author didn't try to go to all 1,780 islands.
Oh, my gosh.
They focused on a select few
Yeah.
and even lived and worked on some of them.
Oh, cool.
Talk about the ultimate workation setup.
I know, right? Laptop on one side, snorkeling gear on the other.
Exactly.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And, they even describe having dinner on a banca, a traditional Filipino catamaran, after a day of fishing and diving for seaweed.
So cool.
That's a pretty idyllic office.
Yeah. Sign me up.
Me too.
So we've gotten a feel for like the scope of this island paradise.
Yeah, definitely.
Now let's zoom in on some specific spots
Okay.
that go beyond the typical tourist brochure highlights.
Sounds good. I'm ready.
First up is Calaweed Island.
Okay.
And this is home to something truly unexpected.
Okay.
The Palawan African Safari,
The what?
located within a wildlife sanctuary.
So,
Yeah, you heard that right. African animals roaming free in the Philippines.
okay, what? That's so strange.
Right.
How did giraffes and zebras end up in Palawan?
Well, it's a story that involves presidential decrees, ecological experiments,
Wow.
and of course, a healthy dose of controversy.
Yeah, I can imagine.
We don't have time to unpack that whole history right now,
Okay.
but it's a perfect example of how Palawan constantly surprises you
Mm-hmm.
with these fascinating layers of history,
Totally.
cultural influences that you just wouldn't expect.
It makes you wonder what other hidden gems are tucked away on those islands just waiting to be discovered.
Well, next on our list is Mangzi Island.
Oh.
And this one really piqued my interest for a totally different reason.
Okay.
First of all, it's located near Sabah, Malaysia.
Okay.
So you find this cool blend of Filipino and Malaysian products in the local shops.
Cool.
But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
A French documentary film crew visited Mangzi Island to film something about the people
Oh, wow.
and their way of life.
I need to know more about this story.
Right.
What were they filming? What about Mangzi Island drew the attention of international filmmakers? Was it the unique cultural blend, the natural beauty, or maybe some hidden talent amongst the locals?
It's like a little breadcrumb trail of intrigue.
I know.
And it reminds us that these islands aren't just pretty backdrops.
Mm-hmm.
They're living, breathing communities with stories waiting to be told.
Exactly.
Speaking of island communities, let's hop over to the Cuyo Archipelago.
Okay.
This one's a little different from
Yeah.
the single islands we've talked about
Okay.
because it's made up of 45 islands and islets.
Okay. Wow.
So it's basically an archipelago
An archipelago within an archipelago.
within an archipelago.
Palawan's geography never ceases to amaze me.
I know, right?
And with so many islands to explore in the Cuyo archipelago, there's got to be just an incredible diversity of landscapes,
Oh, absolutely.
cultures, and experiences.
Yeah, you've got everything from charming villages to like high-end luxury.
Oh, wow.
So for example,
Mhm.
Pamilican Island
Okay.
is home to the Amanpulo Beach Resort,
Fancy.
where the clientele includes A-listers like Harrison Ford.
Oh, wow.
So a touch of Hollywood glamour amidst this beauty.
From giraffes in a wildlife sanctuary to Harrison Ford sipping cocktails on a private beach, Palawan really offers something for everyone.
It really does.
But before we get swept away to a luxury resort, let's do a quick flyover of some of the other notable island municipalities in the area.
I love that, like a rapid-fire Palawan vocabulary
Oh,
lesson.
exactly.
Okay, so first up we have Agutaya.
Okay.
It's part of the Cuyo group of islands.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's Araceli, covering the northern half of Dumoulin Island.
Got it.
And then we've got Cagayansalo,
Kayansan.
known for its proximity to the famous Tuataha Reefs, a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Oh, the Tuatara Reefs, that's one of the most biodiverse marine sanctuaries in the world.
Exactly, like an underwater wonderland.
Wow.
And there's more.
Okay.
We've also got Kulian,
Okay.
which is a former leper colony with preserved structures
Oh, wow.
that now serve as a museum.
Okay.
Then there's Dumoulin, covering the southern part of Dumoulin Island.
Got it.
And for those seeking off-the-grid luxury, there's Linnapaikan.
Okay.
It's home to Ariara Island Beach Resort
Mm-hmm.
and a gateway to the stunning Calamian Islands.
Okay.
And last but not least, we have Magsaysay,
Magsaysay.
the easternmost island of the Kuyu archipelago.
Wow, that was a whirlwind tour.
I know, right?
My head is spinning with all these incredible islands and all the different things to do there.
In case you want to hop on a boat and start exploring right now.
Yeah, seriously.
Speaking of exploring, there's one more spot we need to hit up.
Okay.
El Nido.
I've heard of that.
Yeah,
I
a
think.
super popular destination.
Yeah.
Practically synonymous with, like, breathtaking limestone cliffs and turquoise waters.
Beautiful.
But what's interesting here is the significant presence of a company called 10 Knots Corporation.
10 Knots Corporation.
Yeah, does that name ring a bell?
Maybe. Aren't they some kind of hospitality group?
You got it.
Yeah.
They own a string of luxury resorts in the area,
Oh, okay.
including some big names like Pangasinan,
Mm-hmm.
Minilok, Login, and Apulit.
Okay.
So they've definitely made their mark on El Nido's tourism scene.
It makes me wonder about the impact a company like that has on such a pristine place.
Yeah,
You know, ecologically sensitive like Palawan.
right.
Do they promote sustainable tourism? Are they
Mm.
working with local communities?
These are all important questions.
Yeah.
And definitely a topic we will circle back to.
Okay, good.
But first, let's sail over to Puerto Princesa City,
Okay.
which is the bustling capital of Palawan,
Mm-hmm.
and the perfect jumping-off point for exploring the wonders of Honda Bay.
Honda Bay. That's the place with all the picture-perfect islands you can hop between, right?
You know it.
Hmm.
Think names like
Yeah.
Pandan Island,
Mm-hmm.
Snake Island,
Oh, okay.
Luli Island, and Cowrie Island.
Wow.
Each one is like a little slice of paradise, white sand beaches,
Yeah.
crystal clear waters,
Amazing.
and vibrant coral reefs.
It sounds amazing, adding that to my bucket list.
But before we get carried away planning our dream vacation,
Okay.
there's a more serious topic we need to address.
Okay.
The delicate balance between tourism and conservation in Palawan.
Yeah, for sure.
And nowhere is this delicate balance more evident than on Rasa Island.
Rasa Island.
Yeah, what makes this island so special?
I don't know. Fill me in.
Well, Rasa Island is a wildlife sanctuary, home to the critically endangered Philippine cockatoo,
Oh, wow.
and it's facing a real threat.
Oh, no.
Plans for a coal-fired power plant on the nearby mainland.
Oh, no, really? A coal-fired power plant right next to a wildlife sanctuary.
Yeah. So we're talking potential air and water pollution, habitat destruction,
That's awful.
a devastating blow to an already struggling species.
Yeah, it seems like a recipe for disaster.
It really underscores those difficult choices facing Palawan.
Yeah.
Balancing economic development with environmental protection is no easy feat.
No.
And in the case of Race Island, it raises this really tough question.
What's that?
Can we afford to prioritize short-term economic gains
Right.
over the long-term health of our planet
Mm-hmm.
and its biodiversity?
Yeah, that's a question we all need to be asking ourselves.
Totally.
Not just in Palawan, but everywhere.
Everywhere.
What are we willing to sacrifice in the name of progress?
Right?
And are there alternative paths to development that don't come at the cost of our natural world?
And that is a conversation that needs to happen.
For sure.
And it's one that we will be diving into more deeply
Yeah.
as we continue our exploration of Palawan.
Okay. You know, as we've been talking about these incredible islands, it's got me thinking about the people
Oh, yeah.
who call Palawan home.
Right.
Like, we've been so focused on
Hmm.
the amazing landscapes
Yeah.
and the wildlife that we haven't really talked about
Yeah.
the human side of Palawan.
The human element, for sure.
And our article does hint at,
Yeah.
you know, that deep connection between the people and the environment.
Yeah.
Like, remember that story about the author having dinner
Yeah.
on a banca
Yeah.
after a day of fishing and diving for seaweed?
Yeah.
It gives you just a glimpse into a way of life that's so intertwined with the natural world.
And it's not just about, like, subsistence. It's about culture and identity, too.
Yeah.
Remember how the article mentioned that Mangsi Island is really close to Malaysia and has all those Malaysian products in the stores?
Right.
It just shows how these islands are part of this larger network
Totally.
of exchange
Yeah.
and this interconnectedness.
And influences flowing back and forth across borders.
Exactly.
It's a reminder that Palawan isn't isolated.
Right.
It's like a melting pot of cultures
Yeah.
where Filipino traditions blend with all these influences from neighboring countries and even beyond.
Which brings us back to that question we touched on earlier,
Yeah.
the impact of tourism.
Right.
How can Palawan balance economic development with preserving its unique culture and environment?
Especially with a company like 10 Knots
Right.
operating all these resorts in the area.
Right.
Tourism can be a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
On the one hand, it brings in much-needed jobs,
For sure.
revenue.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it can lead to overdevelopment, cultural commodification, and environmental degradation if not managed really carefully.
And there are real concerns about
Yeah,
those potential downsides of tourism,
for sure.
especially when it comes to these large-scale projects.
Right.
Remember our discussion about Rasa Island and the proposed coal-fired power plant?
Right.
That's a prime example of how development can clash with conservation efforts.
Absolutely.
And it's not just about protecting endangered species like the Philippine cockatoo.
Right.
It's about recognizing that interconnectedness of the whole ecosystem.
Yeah.
Pollution from a power plant could affect water quality, fish populations,
Yeah.
and the livelihoods of the local communities who depend on the sea for survival.
It highlights the need for sustainable tourism practices.
Yeah.
Initiatives that benefit
Yeah.
both the local economy and the environment.
Are there examples of such practices in Palawan?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
And it's one that I'm sure has multiple answers.
Yeah.
There are probably amazing initiatives happening on the ground that we aren't even aware of.
Right.
You know, this article doesn't really
Yeah.
take a super deep dive on that,
Yeah, it doesn't.
but it certainly makes you want to do some further research.
For sure.
Speaking of things that need further research,
Yes.
there's one aspect of Palawan's cultural landscape that we haven't really talked about. The indigenous communities.
Right.
We've mentioned the Pagbanua, Palan, and Batak people.
Yeah.
But their stories deserve a lot more than just a passing mention.
For sure.
These indigenous communities have deep ancestral ties to Palawan.
Yeah.
They hold a wealth of knowledge about the land,
Mm-hmm.
the sea, the delicate balance of the ecosystem.
Absolutely.
Their traditions and perspectives
Mm-hmm.
are so essential
Yeah.
to understanding the true heart and soul of these islands.
It makes me wonder, what are their stories?
Yeah.
What are their challenges?
Right.
How has tourism affected their way of life?
Mm-hmm.
What role do they play
Yeah.
in shaping the future of Palawan?
Those are such important questions.
Yeah.
And I think it's so crucial to listen to the voices of these indigenous communities,
Right.
to learn from their wisdom and incorporate their perspectives
Mm.
into any discussion about development and conservation in Palawan.
Absolutely.
You know, as we've been diving deeper into this topic,
Yeah.
it struck me that
Wow.
what makes this deep dive so engaging
Yeah.
is that
Uh-huh.
our source material is this
Right.
blog-style article
Yeah.
written by someone who clearly has a deep passion for Palawan.
Right.
It's not a dry academic paper.
Right.
It's not a drossy travel brochure.
Right.
It's a personal account
Yeah.
full of observations,
Yeah.
anecdotes, and even a bit of humor.
It definitely has a personality.
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
There's this authenticity to it
Right.
that really draws you in.
Yeah.
Like when the author casually mentions wanting to be hired to document the Cuyo archipelago
Mm.
and stay at the luxurious Amamapulo beach resort.
I love that part. It's so relatable.
It's so real.
Right.
It makes you feel like you're having a conversation with a friend
Totally.
who's just sharing
Yeah.
their travel dreams and discoveries. Mm-hmm.
It adds this human touch to the information
Right.
and makes it all the more memorable.
And it reminds us that everyone experiences Palawan differently.
Mhm.
For some, it's a luxury getaway. For
Yeah.
others, it's a place of
Right.
deep cultural and
Yeah.
spiritual significance.
Mhm.
And for many, it's a source of livelihood and sustenance.
So many different perspectives.
Yeah.
All woven together
Yeah.
to create this tapestry that is Palawan.
It is a tapestry.
And while our article has given us a glimpse
Yeah. Right.
into this tapestry,
Mhm.
it's clear that there are countless threads waiting to be explored.
Absolutely.
Speaking of discoveries,
Okay.
what has surprised you the most about Palawan so far?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
You know what really surprised me?
Uh-huh.
The sheer variety of experiences that Palawan offers.
Yeah.
Like, we've gone from African animals roaming free in a wildlife sanctuary
Yeah.
to high-end resorts catering to Hollywood stars.
It's a lot.
It
It's
was
one little...
Right. Archipelago.
from exploring underwater wonderlands
Mm-hmm.
to contemplating the challenges of sustainable development.
Right.
It's like a microcosm of the Philippines itself.
Yeah.
This unique blend of
Yeah.
natural beauty,
Mhm.
history, and culture.
It's not just a beach destination.
No,
It's a place that challenges you to think,
totally.
to explore, to connect with something bigger than yourself.
Absolutely.
And it's a place that clearly sparks the imagination.
Yeah.
Remember that mention of the French documentary film crew
Oh, yeah.
visiting Mangzi Island?
I can't stop thinking about what they were filming
I know, me too.
and what stories they uncovered.
Yeah, what if there's some hidden treasure there?
Right.
Or a cultural practice or some natural phenomenon that's like unique to that island?
It's like a little seed of curiosity has been planted in my mind.
It makes you want to go beyond the article.
Yeah.
Do your own research
Mm-hmm.
and uncover those hidden gems. It's a reminder that even within this deep dive,
Right.
there are countless rabbit holes to explore,
Mm-hmm.
endless threads to follow.
That's what makes learning so exciting.
I know, right?
It's a never-ending journey of discovery.
Yeah.
And while our deep dive into Palawan
Uh,
might be coming to a close,
yeah.
the exploration doesn't have to end here.
You know, it's funny, as much as we've talked about the challenges that Palawan faces,
Yeah.
like that delicate balance between tourism and conservation and the potential impact of these large-scale developments,
Mm-hmm.
there's also this like
Yeah.
underlying sense of hope
I know.
that keeps bubbling up.
I completely agree. And it's like this thread of resilience that's just woven through
Yeah.
the whole narrative.
Totally.
And it's not just about human resilience,
Right.
but incredible adaptability
Mhm.
and tenacity of nature itself.
We've been talking about Palawan's ecosystems like they're fragile and vulnerable,
Yeah.
but they've been around for millennia,
Mm.
surviving all sorts of natural upheavals,
Right.
volcanic eruptions, typhoons, ice ages.
They've seen it all.
These islands have seen it all.
And even in the face of human-induced changes,
Yeah.
nature often finds a way to adapt and persist.
Totally. Like those migratory birds
Right.
that use Ursula Island as a roosting spot.
Exactly. They've been making that journey for generations.
Right.
Navigating vast distances,
Yeah, it's amazing.
relying on these islands as stepping stones along the way.
It just blows my mind to think about
Yeah.
these tiny birds connecting continents
Right.
and playing a role in this global ecosystem
Exactly.
that extends so far beyond Palawan.
It shifts your perspective.
Like
Like,
we-
we're not just visitors passing through.
Right.
We're all part of this
Yeah.
intricate web of life.
And the choices we make, the actions we take, can have consequences that extend way beyond our immediate surroundings.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Palawan, what's like the one message you want our listeners to take away from all of this?
I think it boils down to this. Palawan is so much more than just a pretty destination.
Yeah.
It's this place where
Right.
nature's grandeur meets human resilience,
Mm-hmm.
where these ancient traditions coexist with modern challenges,
Yeah.
and where the choices we make today will shape the future of this incredible archipelago.
It's a place that invites us to explore, to learn, to connect, to become conscious travelers,
Totally.
aware of our impact, and really committed to preserving the beauty and wonder of this world.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And if this deep dive has like sparked your interest even a little,
Yeah.
I encourage you to just keep exploring,
Mhm.
research those indigenous communities,
Yeah.
dive into the history of that Spratly Islands dispute, or even plan your own trip to Palawan.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows what incredible discoveries await?
And remember,
Yeah.
every journey of discovery starts with a single step.
That's true.
So keep asking questions, keep seeking answers, and just keep marveling at the world around you.
Until our next deep dive, happy exploring.
Happy exploring.
And if you stumble upon any fascinating facts about Palawan,
Yeah,
send them our way.
we're always up for another adventure.
We are.
The more we learn, the more we realize how much there still is to discover.
I totally agree.